right, fans. Brian Cox here again with SimplyStamps.com. Today we have the esteemed guest, Brian Schwab, President and CEO of Co-op USA. Thanks for joining us, Brian. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Super, super. Well, I don't need to go into all the details. You've been in the stamp space for a while. Why don't you tell everybody kind of your high-level history, and then we'll start geeking out about rubber stamps. Tell me a little bit about the company as well.
Sure, absolutely. So I started in the stamp industry in 1995, and then I exited it in 2011 and ran a few other businesses in different industries for the 10 years. And then recently have become the new leader of Co-op USA. That was in November of 2022. So I'm back in the industry. So, I've got a lot of experience within the stamp world, and then left and got a lot of good experiences outside of it in retail and some other distribution channels. So really excited to be back and working in this. And Co-op at a high level, we work in about 100 plus countries across the world, the US being the largest market. And, we are really focused now on developing our products and brands within that marketplace in the USA right now. And it's been really exciting. So been great to catch up with a lot of my friends from the past and reacquainting and having some good times and talking, and then meeting a lot of the new people who have come into the business while I was gone, as it's changed quite a bit since I was in it. So it's been a lot of fun so far.
Yeah, I always, a lot of our customers is the first time they've ever used a stamp for whatever reason, right? So
Yeah.
I always get excited to explain to anybody, whether it's my family or neighbors, like, you guys really think about the rubber stamp industry as truly a global industry, and the United States is a piece of that pie,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've been in this industry for 25 years now, and I don't have a lot of exposure to other industries, but this is a pretty fun one, from the mom and pops to the kind of the niche. Obviously it's a pretty niche product,
Sure.
and then watching it evolve over, probably specifically the last, I don't know, call it 10 years with the address stamps or the technology that allows us to do logos within minutes now. The QR code stamps that we're seeing all over our society post-COVID and things like that. So I don't know. How do you try to, when you're at the golf course and you meet a random guy, you tell him you sell rubber stamps for a living, how do you try to sell that to them? How do you think about the stamp market or the stamp industry in general?
Right. So I think the first question that everyone says when I tell them that is, they're like, there's a pause, and they're like, you can make a living doing that? They still sell those, and so I think what that speaks to, a lot of it is that, as I tell them, is that there's a whole world that really needs this product, and the value that I think it delivers most of the time is a cost efficient process for imprinting something. And also, as I've seen it change, is really the dynamic of, it's like when you sign your first mortgage and you write your name. That name, when your signature means something to you, right? It's unique to you, and so is the design of the stamp. And I think that is the big piece. If you put those two values together, that's where I think the magic can happen for people. And, that's where I've seen, as it's moved forward, clearly, as the internet and everything has happened, I think we sell as many stamps, if not more, than we ever have. I think they just go in different places, and, businesses just still buy them. And there's a need for that. And in the business side, there is not as much emotional touch to that product. That is a repetitive, high value, cost efficient process for that individual. Right. But I think when you get out and outside of that, the B2C, that's where the opportunities are to continue to develop and grow our market share.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's just silly. And listen, I'm a sales guy, right? So I want to be all pro stamps for the rest of my life. But I truly believe in my heart that a stamp is emotional. The first time you ever see your name, or like you said, or your signature. And I try to tell my employees, as we're processing thousands of orders a day, it's just an address stamp to you because you just made 900 more of them over the last couple of days. But to somebody else, this is their first home. This is the first time this is their American dream of having a home, and now they see their address on it. It's a very emotional, like, stamp on a piece of paper, Or
absolutely.
I talked to a customer probably about a month ago or so, and she had this dream 5 years ago that she wanted to own her own coffee company. Okay, cool, cool, go for it, right? Live your dream. And then she went and found Upwork or Fiverr. Somebody designed her a logo, right? So now she's got her logo, right? And then she uploads her logo on our website and you make her a logo stamp. And she gets it. And she literally said, this is the first time I've like, this is my dream. It's happening. It's the first time I've ever seen my logo on a piece of paper here, you know, and it's a $25 stamp. And it's like, oh, that's cool, man, you know? So
for sure. It really is.
So let's see what else we want. Where do you want to go next? Like thinking about this industry, like you were in it for a while, you took a break for a while, you're back in it. So there must be some appeal. What do you love most about the industry?
You know, it is clearly the people, right? So I really enjoy the customer base that we have. Meeting with those people, you know, you're talking about dream of these people with the impression. Well, these are first, second, third generation companies, many of them. Sure. And this was someone's dream that continues on, right? And I've watched them adapt and change and thrive, you know, as they're doing it. And I think it's a really cool experience. And you get to, I've worked with the fathers and the sons now, right? And that's a pretty cool thing. You know, I keep telling them when I come in, I haven't aged a bit. I'm still, you know, I'm 22 like I used to be, right?
Yeah, right, of course.
But at the end of the day, those relationships and doing fun things and working and helping people succeed is what gets me up. And that's really in what I like about this industry, right? And now we have a whole new world, co-op, that we do arts and crafts. And that's a whole new world, right? That is nothing that business side has done. So that's really exciting for us as we look at that marketplace, because the two are completely separated, as you know, right? There's the business side and then there's the art side, so to speak. And the delineation's amazing, right? There is very little crossover outside of some of the B2C designing that has happened, right? Sure. Your company as an example, right? So that's an interesting thing. So that really is an exciting thing that as I looked at it, see, there's lots of opportunity.
Yeah, that's fun. That's cool. So, yeah, we haven't yet. We've talked about it, but we focus a lot on the business stamps, right? But you and I have talked a lot from the tattoo stamps to the different kind of stamps that are just different ways to use a stamp. I think that's one of my jobs as a marketer and as a leader in the industry. Like, what's next, right? Yep. What's the next stamp and what's the next opportunity for our entire association, our entire industry, effectively? You know, one of the, I go back to, like, I own the largest company I've ever worked at, so I can hide behind that, right? I don't know other industries real well, but I do find it very fun, for lack of better words, that I can pick up the phone and call my competitor that's out in San Diego. We could talk about it, or my competitor anywhere out the country. I'll go watch a football game in Chicago and end up finding a competitor there, and he'll come to the game with me, or something like that. So it's so fun. I think a lot of that is because of the age of the industry and just that kind of family foundation, maybe. So that's something that I enjoy thinking a lot about. So let's see, where else do you want to go? What do you want to talk about? What's on your mind in the stamp industry, since I kind of threw this out and said, get on this call with me?
Yeah, right. No, I think that as I look at it, it's just how do we continue to evolve with the end user in mind, right? That's my challenge at Co-op, in my opinion, right? We have to drive demand for our products in the marketplace and then push it through our manufacturing partners, right? And so you've seen it. You go back in time, even when I was here, there's online solutions, right? We've got an online solution and everything else, and it's great, but you can provide these tools, but are they getting used? And I see it as we want to create demand through the channel and bring that back, because the rubber stamp manufacturer is our lifeblood, right? We need them to grow. And we do know that there's challenges outside of them in much bigger companies coming in, creeping into our industry. They see it as a very simple add-on to go to other product categories. Yeah, so we need to continue to drive that and support them through that process. And I see that as something we need to do. And I know that historically that might have been like, what are you doing? But I know the people who have grown and developed, as I've seen it, I think they will appreciate how new product development could help them.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so, I've thought about this before, right? If you were to look at the amount of rubber stamp manufacturers today versus maybe 10 years ago, it's significantly less, right? The brick and mortar,
amazing. It really, I mean, because think I left for 10 to 12 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, wow. I mean, I'm just looking at the lists that I used to know and how acquisition and everything else has happened. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, yeah. But I would also say, the demand has not. So I don't know the percentages, but if the rubber stamp manufacturers have gone down, but demand has kind of stayed the same or gone down a little bit, sure. But it's not like tanking, dying. Yep. It's interesting to watch, just different businesses evolve. And I actually think the internet allowed more people to think about a stamp. I never knew I wanted a logo stamp until I saw one on Etsy, and then damn, I'm gonna buy one. That's cool, right. Or I don't do mail anymore. I don't need an address stamp until you get one and then you love it, Yep. So I have a little thing on. I've lived in the same house for 20 years and I'm working from home today, but every once in a while we get a new neighbor that moves in, right? So my mother-in-law who lives next door to me, she'll bring the cookies because that's just her go-to. The brownies or cookies or whatever. Welcome to the neighborhood. I'll bring them the address stamp. Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, this is cool. I never knew I wanted one, but they'll come back 6 months later, like, hey man, I'm low on ink. Dad, what do I do? How do I get some more ink? Right. So
I know it's amazing. Like, where do I go to get this? I'm just gonna go to your house because I don't really this isn't top of mind to someone, right?
Yeah. So, but I do think, it's an interesting product. And again, it's on you and I to partner together to figure out, man, what can we do next? How can we innovate this industry? How can we keep it going? So
well, I think also you look at what we've done. We've made an investment and it has had a positive effect in many areas for us, but we are still continuing to push it as our eMark product. So that product is so ahead of really anything that's happened in our industry, right? And I've come back to it. That has happened why I've inherited it, right?
Right.
But its ability to do things, I know, like anything technology does, sometimes people are like, I don't want to adapt to that because it looks like maybe, is that a threat? You know what I mean? And I'm like, trust me, there's tons of threats that are out there, and we want to stay with that, ask the friends at BlackBerry or anybody else, right?
Yeah.
Like, you thought you had it, right? You got to adapt with things, right? And if this isn't the greatest thing ever, it is still a window into our view of we need to adapt and bring value to all of our partners when we do this. And that's a big challenge that I see for us, and we're excited about trying to develop. And that, I think that's a pretty cool thing because we've talked about end users almost this entire process, and technology, and there's been all kinds of changes around how stamps are manufactured.
Yeah.
But that's you and I, right? The end user doesn't care how you made them. At the end of the day, they don't. They just want something that works for an application they want, And I think we can get out of our own way in that regard and focus on what they want, that's where you win.
Sure. So yeah, our marketing team does a lot of time just thinking about what's the cool, trendy T-shirt or bumper sticker or whatever, and how do we translate that into potentially our product of a stamp, And
Absolutely.
so, there's wins every once in a while. They get a viral stamp that goes around or whatever, things like that. So
you're like, I wasn't expecting that one to do so well.
Yeah,
you're like, that design did it.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, hey man, I appreciate catching up with you. It's been a while since we had a beer in the Vegas Strip. I don't know, was that a year ago or so, maybe? I don't know.
I mean, the last year's been a blur. It's been awesome, getting to see everyone and do it all. So we're really excited about moving forward, and I appreciate the time talking to you.
Yeah. Last question. In your industry, either part one or part two, what's the favorite stamp order you can think about or remember? You got one?
Yeah, you're gonna date me. I'm gonna date. You're gonna look at this and go, "Oh, that's it." But it's just what comes to my head.
Yeah,
right?
I love it. Perfect. There's no wrong answer.
I won't give the name because I just don't. But a large pharma company I stumbled across as a young salesperson.
Yeah.
And they ended up ordering 200 or 175,000, I think, self-inking units to give to all their salespeople with their prescription back in the day when you could do that, right?
Yeah.
And I was like,
I remember that was a big part of our industry. Yeah.
It was huge. And then they came and said, you can't do it anymore because
no more promotional products in the industry or whatever. Oh man, I remember that day when that came down.
And it was the one that was blue, so it was a very kind of funny one at the time too. So we were like, "What's going on?"
That's great. I love it. I love it. We can all put two and two together there. So fun. So, all right, Brian, thanks for your time. Great catching up with you. And we'll kind of we'll keep moving forward, and I appreciate it. So,
sounds great. Thank you.